Hi, I am Pranay. I'm one of the maintainers at SigNoz, and I'll take you through a quick demo of the product and its different features. SigNoz is an open source observability platform. We help developers monitor applications and troubleshoot problems. Some of the top features which SigNoz has is having all the metrics, traces, and logs in a single plane. This helps you to correlate across different signals and deliver insights much faster, which in turn helps you solve any problems very quickly. Some of the key features which you have is out of the box application performance metrics. We are based on OpenTelemetry, and as soon as you instrument your applications with OpenTelemetry SDKs, you start getting beautiful dashboards like latency charts, RPS charts, error rates out of the box. We also provide modules for alerts management where you can set up how you can want to set up your alerts, and we support different channels like PagerDuty, webhooks, and also Slack as integration channels through which you can set alerts. We have support for logs management and exceptions monitoring, and our logs management product is based on ClickHouse, which is quite efficient in terms of the amount of data you store and the resources needed to run it. Exceptions monitoring is something which we have recently introduced is one of the native features powered by OpenTelemetry. In OpenTelemetry, you can have your traces include exceptions and error events, and that's what we surface separately in a tab so that you can find any issues related to exceptions much faster. SigNoz is based on OpenTelemetry, and this is the only SDK we support. That makes SigNoz as one of the best tools to visualize your OpenTelemetry data. If you are starting your journey today of observability, I highly recommend you to check out OpenTelemetry project and see how it can help you in better observing your systems. Enough of slides now. Let's get started with the demo. Hi, so I will take you through a quick demo of SigNoz. In this section, I'll talk about the application metrics and how you can get them out of the box from SigNoz. So once you instrument your applications with OpenTelemetry SDKs, you start seeing dashboards like this, where you see different applications, key metrics like P99 latencies, error rates, operations per second, etc. And then you can dive deeper into any of the applications to see more detail into it. Let's get into this sample app plus application. So here out of the box, you start seeing metrics like P99 latencies, rates per second, operations per second, error percentage, which your application is seeing, and any key operations which it may support. It also shows you out of the box any metrics like P95, P99 latencies for each of the endpoint, API endpoint. If your application is also using any database calls, that is also shown in a separate tab here, and then you can also see the average duration being taken by the database calls. This helps people to debug issues much faster because databases are many times causes of the problem which people see. We also separate out any external API calls being made, for example, calls like Twilio APIs or any third-party API which your application is making a call to. We show them separately with details like what is the average call duration, what is that external call RPS based on each of the address which is calling, so that you get a much better sense of where your application is taking time. So here you get all these metrics out of the box. You can also filter these based on your deployment environment, etc. and see metrics specific to that. Now suppose you want to figure out what this is spike in latency is, you can just go from here and go view traces. In this section, we'll talk about distributed tracing product in SigNoz. I believe SigNoz has one of the most powerful open source distributed tracing product. Once you land to this page, you see different traces and spans related to that. And you can filter these spans based on different attributes like the duration, the status of the spans, and based on different filters like service name, operations name, components, different type of HTTP methods, etc. So you can very quickly get to, for example, if you want to see spans which are more than, say, a particular duration. So say, let's want to say spans more than 10 seconds, then you can just go ahead and then filter those traces here. And then you can get into more details of what those traces are and attributes related to that. For example, here you can see where exactly the trace is taking time. So most of the time is being taken by this Jinja render method, and within that MongoDB is taking the most time. You can get more details of these events like the DB name, the DB statements, which will help you figure out exactly where the issue is and see them in context. If there are any events which are present, you can also see them here in context of the traces. Let me share more details on this trace page. So this is very powerful. You see all the spans which are relevant shown here, but you can also filter these. So any filter which you apply, suppose you want to just filter on a particular service, the graph here shows the aggregate of that. So here it shows the count, but you can also choose any other aggregation. Say, for example, if you want to do 95th percentile of spans of this count, and then you can say group by a particular operation name, right? So you can get a lot of details around what was the 95th percentile, group by a particular operation name, or for example, if you want to just filter for a particular HTTP host or particular HTTP method, you can do that. And the graph here will show you the exact aggregation function which you choose here, and then group by based on different parameters. We can also allow you to filter these based on different tags which you are sent. So for example, if you are sending tags in your spans, you can add these as filter here. For example, let's say you want to filter spans only coming from a particular host, you can just add will do that and then run this query, and then this aggregation will change based on these filters, right? So you can get to very specific details here, and you can add multiple tags here. So if you have like a particular collector ID, you can just go ahead and like filter the graph based on that. What we have also recently released is this new Traces new Explorer, which comes with its own query builder and more detailed views on how we can explore the traces. So we saw how the applications which you see here can be instrumented directly through OpenTelemetry instrumentation. What I also want to highlight is that this application instrumentation is quite simple. For most of the common languages like Python, Java, JavaScript, OpenTelemetry provides something called auto instrumentation libraries, which enables you to start instrumenting your applications very easily. So you just have to include certain libraries there, and then all the standard instrumentation packages like HTTP and then any other common databases, etc., are by default instrumented through this. Similarly, for JavaScript, there is a all-in-one instrumentation library. What you have to just do is npm install those JavaScript libraries, and then it will instrument most of the common packages like HTTP and then any common databases, right? So this really makes instrumentation for application metrics very easy in OpenTelemetry, and hence gives you a much easier out-of-the-box experience with SigNoz. In this section, I will take you through a quick demo of the dashboard sections in SigNoz. So in this section is where you primarily plot all your metrics and all infrastructure metrics like host metrics or Kubernetes metrics. So primarily this section has ways to create new dashboards, and then in each dashboard you can create multiple panels. So let's go through some of the dashboards which we already have so that it gives you an idea of what are the capabilities you can have. A very basic dashboard is something like a host metric dashboard, which gives you standard metrics like memory usage, disk space, available disk space, and things like that. And here you can create these dashboards, like you can specify the tags which you want to provide, a description, a name of the dashboard, and you can also specify something called variables. So these are the variables which you can specify based on queries, and then these will be available here for you to choose as a dropdown. Now, for example, suppose you want to set up a new variable. Now this variables can be set up in different ways. It can either just be a set of options like text box options, but more often than not, these are generally queries which people want to run, so that these queries give you a certain set of options which can be used as variables, and then people can use these drop downs here and plot or like the see different types of values available in this dashboards. So as you see, like here we have defined a variable called hostname, and it has multiple values populated, and based on the value which you choose here, all this metrics change for you, right? Now you can also change the layout of this dashboard. For example, you can sort of move it here and then save layout so that you can adjust the panels which are there based on your need. You can also add new panels here. So currently we support 3 types of panels: time series panels, value panels, and table panels. And then based on the queries there, you can write and get values displayed here. We'll get into more details on this in a few minutes. But I just want to share some other features of dashboards. So you can have multiple types of dashboards registered here. So I showed you example of host metrics dashboards. You can also have dashboards around Kubernetes specific metrics like pod memory, pod utilization, etc. And then you can create dashboards for standard thing like JVM metrics, where you can monitor things like JVM heap, JVM total memory, cache space, etc. Right? So this really gets very powerful, and you can plot any type of metrics which you want to monitor here. Now suppose you want to create a new dashboards, either you can create a dashboard here and then add panels there. So let's just try to create a time series type of panel here. So what you do here is you get a way to create custom dashboards basically, and basically you can create dashboards based on logs, metrics, or traces. Now anything or any metrics which you are sending by default to us are available here as data points, and then you can, for example, plot things like file system capability available, and then plot things based on that. You can also use legends here to specify the or like basically make these dashboards much cleaner to see, and then plot these graphs accordingly. You can also, so there are like three types of queries which you can write. You can either use our query builder to create these dashboards, or you can use something called ClickHouse query. Here we give you all power of ClickHouse queries to write any type of queries which you want. You can go across multiple data stores and then write ClickHouse queries. And for example, you can write a query which ties across logs and traces and then plot some data here. So you can really use it in a very powerful ways. Also, if you are sending metrics in Prometheus format and using Prometheus receivers, you can just write PromQL queries also, and we support that. So these are the three types of queries we support in dashboards. And once you create, suppose, a dashboard here, and then you're happy with it, you can just save this as a dashboard, write some certain descriptions here. So let's say file system capacity. And then you can choose a y-axis unit based on what you think is the unit here. Here, let's say the capacity is based on the, let's say, bytes. So we'll just choose this here and then run query so that the y-axis here gets adjusted based on that. And then we can save it, and it will save a query in the dashboard. So this is how you can use the dashboard feature and then plot any type of metrics. Creating new alerts in SigNoz is very simple. You just go ahead and click this new alerts button, and this will give you option to create alerts based on different type of signals like metrics, logs, traces, or exceptions. Let's try to create an alerts based on traces. So as soon as you click here, you enter the alerts page and the query builder where you can create queries on what type of alerts you want to run. Let's create an alert for spans with more than P50 duration, and see how we can configure that. So we're just filtering based on a particular service, say the customer service, and we run the query, we start getting the count of the alerts. Now let's say we want to set alerts on the time duration of spans, and say we want to choose P50 percentile to set alerts based on that. What you see here is the duration in terms of nanoseconds. So it's 313 millisecond, which is the P50 percentile. Let's try to increase the time interval here for 15 seconds and set a threshold of say 310 millisecond. Because the value is in nano, we have to write it in terms of 310 million. And once you run query, you see a thresholds coming up here. So anytime your P50 percentile crosses this limit, an alert is generated. Now there are different options on, like, do you want to show alert when the threshold is crossed or above, below, etc. And also, do you want to throw alert if it crosses only once, or on an average, or other options like this. Once you have set your alert, you can send an alert name, say above 310 millisecond, and then send a notification channel. Here I will just create the alert rule and then tell you how to set up notification channels. So it's asking if you want to save this alert, and then once you have saved it, you can see that this one is created here. So it's as simple as that to create alerts in SigNoz. The next part is to go ahead and set up alert channels to set up where you want to see the alerts. In SigNoz, we by default support Slack, webhooks, and PagerDuty to send notifications. Using webhooks, you can configure any other alert channels which support webhooks and then use it to send alerts from SigNoz. As you can see, you can also set more detailed formatting options here, which gives you more options around what was the alert name, what was the status, and maybe some more description around severity, etc. So once you save this alert channel and then go ahead and select that in the alert rule, the alert will start getting fired and shown in the respective notification channels. So in this section, I'll talk about logs section in SigNoz. So SigNoz logs is powered by ClickHouse. So as you can see, it's very powerful and it can handle high quality data quite well. So in the main screen which you see, you can see a query builder here. So here you can do any sort of free text search, or you can parse your attributes and then filter based on those attributes. Let's just take an example of a free text search. So let's say you want to parse logs which has something called root_client. So if you just type it here, so basically it by default add body contains root_client, and then once you run query, now you see all the logs which are filtered are based on root_client. You can also add more filters here based on the attribute. Suppose you want to see logs coming from a particular service name. I don't think there is any service name here, but let's say any other attribute. For example, let's say stream. So let's say I want to filter logs based on coming from a particular stream. You can just filter it here and then this will get filtered. So this is very powerful. What you can also do is you can choose the format in which you want to see the logs. So we provide 3 formats by default. The default format is raw format, where you see logs in this format, and if you want to see more details of this, you can just click it here, right? And this supports both JSON and table view so that you can get more details on that. If you want to add any filters here, for example, suppose you want to add this in the query, you can just click this here, and by default this container ID is added as a filter here. So this is an easy way to add any sort of filter for any past attribute which you have, to directly add these filters here, and then you can see the list of logs being filtered based on those. What you can also see is different other formats. So you can also choose how many lines of logs you want to see. For example, here you can go to 2 lines and 3 lines. So max here is 2 lines. So you can see 2 lines. So based on the amount of compactness you want to see in the logs, you can choose that. You can also see other format like this is the list view format, where you see all of them in details here. If you want, you can just copy all the log fields here and then use it to share with any of your colleagues, etc. Or you can also choose a column format, and then here you can choose what are the fields you want as the default thing. For example, suppose you have data coming in a stream, you can add that, and nothing is there in a stream or level, you can just remove that, and then the attribute here will adjust based on that. And this is just a complete, you can go infinite scroll here, and if you want to go up, you can just go up and do like this. So yeah, so you can choose different formats in which you want to see the logs. You can add attributes which are important to you. What is also interesting is you can add these groups by and create aggregations based on what you want to see. Suppose you want to group by a particular level of logs. So by default, as soon as you add a group by field here, this will create a time series chart of the number of log lines present for each of the type of levels. So as of now here, there is only one type of level, so there is a single chart. But suppose there are multiple levels, or let's try to add a different field. Let's say stream, right? So let's group by stream. So now there is one stream which is STR. You can see how many logs are coming for this stream. You can also format this legend so that this appears more beautiful. So you can see the number of logs coming for a particular stdr. What you can also do is, by default, the aggregation is based on the count, but you can, for example, do some other aggregations. Let's say sum based on, say, severity number. Like I don't think it makes sense, but just for an example, you can plot a sum here. By default, the severity here is 0, so nothing is being plotted here, but I guess you get the idea that you can plot based on different aggregation attributes here and then see data based on that. You can also view tables here. So for example, if you want to count based on the number of stdr, so let's just count based on the type of the stream and then count it here. So this table shows you for a particular type of a stream what is the count of the log. So this is around 16,000 here, which we also see what is being shown here. So the difference between table and time series is that the table aggregates this across that whole time period, and while on the other hand, time series aggregates like for particular, like for each point of time, it shows you a data point. We have also more details here, like so you can aggregate these logs you can order these logs based on different things. You can have operations. So suppose count is greater than something, and having operations, etc., also be added here. Right. So let's just remove all of this here for now, and let's just keep a time series graph. What I want to show you is how easily it is to create dashboards and alerts from here. So you can so suppose you are here, you have filtered certain logs, and then you have aggregated based on certain parameter, and then you can just go ahead and make it to a dashboard. What this will show you is it will take the same dashboard, take the same filters, and create a dashboard directly here, and say you can just say logs dashboard and then save this dashboard here, and you will be able to start seeing this directly, right? So this gets very powerful directly from seeing the exploration of logs to the alerts to the dashboards. Is just a matter of few clicks, through which you can go directly there. The same thing can be done for alerts. For example, if you want to set up certain alerts here, suppose you are filtering particular type of logs, and then you are in the time series mode, you have count of the logs, and then suppose you want to set up alerts based on that. So you can see, like, as of now there are like 3.8 thousand logs which are coming in with this particular type of filter. But suppose you want to set a threshold that, okay, if this number crosses 3600, then you want to set up an alert. What you can do is you can just set up a threshold here, and as soon as the threshold is crossed, then it will throw you an alert, right? So basically you can monitor any specific attributes in alert, like a particular stream error type or a particular service throwing a particular alert, a particular type of logs, and then you can monitor it and then set up alerts based on that. And making this from the logs explorer to alerts is very simple, as you can see. And if you just set up a alert name, say above 3600, then you can just create an alert rule, and basically this alert rule will get created here, and anytime it starts crossing it, it will show you a firing status and it will send you notification in your notification channel. So yeah, that's what our new logs explorer is. It's quite powerful. You can specify the attributes you want to filter based on, and very easily set up dashboards and alerts based on top of them. As we discussed, SigNoz has all the three signals: metrics, traces, and logs in a single application. One powerful thing which it enables is easy correlation across different type of signals, for example, traces and logs. So if you take this sample application, here you have see all the metrics related to this application, and we can go deeper into it and see the traces related to a particular application. Now, one interesting thing which you can do is, suppose you are looking to dive deeper into this app in this trace, and you see detailed trace view of this with more details on where it is spending time on. What would also be helpful is to also see the trace logs involved in these traces in context. So if you pass your logs in context in these traces, which OpenTelemetry allows, what you can also see is, for example, if you select a particular trace, you can see related logs which were executed corresponding to this. So in SigNoz, we have made this very simple. You can just click this, go to related logs, and it will just filter out all the logs which are corresponding to this trace ID and show you there. So as you can see, you can get more details on the execution context and what are the log lines which are printed when a particular trace was executed. This can get very powerful for you to debug issues when they're happening and help you solve issues much faster. So a quick demo of exceptions section of SigNoz. So in OpenTelemetry, you can add your exceptions event along with the trace data. What we do in SigNoz is we show you all these exceptions data in a separate tab here called the exceptions tab, where you see details like the type of the exceptions, the error message, the count, number of times it is occurring, when it was first seen, and the application which was triggering this. You can also filter it based on things like deployment environment, collector ID, etc., or any other resource attribute which you sent us. This also allows you to filter based on different type of exceptions. For example, here you can just filter the type of exceptions which you are seeing, or similarly filter the exceptions occurring from a particular applications. Now, what is pretty interesting is if you click any of these exceptions here, you see more details on the stack trace related to that exceptions. So you see the exact line of code where the issues happened and the corresponding error messages. You also see related attributes here, for example, the service name where it is happening, the trace ID, span ID, etc. What is really powerful though is you can see these errors in context of the execution of the trace. So if a request is getting executed and it gave an exception, if you click here, what you can see is in the context of the execution of the request, where did that exception happen? For example, the red colors here show that some sort of exception has happened, and then you can dive deeper here and see the exact exception happened. So you can see the exception message, the stack trace, and like when did this start happen. So you can see, especially for people who are running things in production and are monitoring the exceptions closely, you can quickly figure out in the request of execution of a trace, where did this exception happen, when did this start, and what was the message. So this helps you figure out the issue much faster and then be able to take actions based on that. And this is something which is unique to SigNoz, where we have really used the OpenTelemetry data format to extract out the exceptions data and show our users more details about it in a very concise format. We have recently introduced something called a query builder, which gives you a lot of powerful on filtering and aggregation on the attributes that you have. So this is the new Trace Explorer page, and what we have here is the new query builder, which has different fields like being able to filter based on different attributes. So you can filter, for example, based on a particular service name. And then it also gives you options on the different operators available. You can just choose equal to, and then it will suggest you the operators available, and the list of spans shown below will change based on that. You can also choose multiple operators. So like in operators like in, which takes multiple parameters. For example, if you want to say choose DB system and choose as something like in, you can choose multiple parameters if those are available, and then if you press enter key, those will also get applied. So rather than just applying one filter, you can also apply multiple filters here and just run queries based on that, right? What you can also do is group by these bys based on different things. For example, if you want to group your traces based on particular component, this shows you a time series view of the traces, and you can use different aggregation options here to get the aggregation option you want. For example, suppose you want to find P50 of spans here, which are based coming from a particular service. So what you can do is you can just go ahead and choose duration nano here. Duration nano is a field which contains the OpenTelemetry span duration, and then you can just run the query here, and this will show you the time the spans coming from this service are taken. You can also format this legend. For example, you can just do component here, and then this will become much more will show you the graphs based on this. We also have something called a table view, which filters components and shows you aggregation option for the duration of the time interval. So in time series, you see a data point for each time interval, while in table view, you see the aggregation during that time interval. For example, suppose you just want to count the number of traces during this time interval, you can just run this query here, and it will show you the number of traces which occur during this time. If you change the time period here, the corresponding traces will change here. So this query builder can get very powerful. You can use different aggregation options here. You can group by based on different things and plot time series graphs based on that. Now, the other important thing here is the ability to create dashboards and alerts directly from here. For example, you want to let's take the example of P90 of duration again, and then you want to run this query. You can just go ahead and either create a dashboard or set up alerts from here directly. The same filters which you have used there will get applied here, and then you can choose the duration for which you want to evaluate this, and you can set a threshold here. So here, for example, you want to set threshold at say 500 millisecond, which is like 500 million nanoseconds. So you can just add that here. And then if you run query, you can see alert threshold is being set here. So that's our new query builder, and the same component is also used in Logs Explorer. So if you go to a new Log Explorer, you can see different same options like group by, limit available here. And also you can use multiple queries here or add formulas based on these queries to create a plot, time series plot, or a table plot based on what you want. We have had chance to go through different features in SigNoz. One thing which I want to emphasize is that SigNoz is natively based on OpenTelemetry. It's the only SDK we support, and we think that OpenTelemetry is the future of where telemetry is going. OpenTelemetry is now the second most active CNCF project just after Kubernetes. So it is being adopted rapidly by big companies and small. Some of the key advantages which OpenTelemetry provides is, one, it's a standard sort of telemetry signals which the industry has agreed on. So you're not locked into particular vendors and their particular way of doing things. If you follow OpenTelemetry SDKs, you're sending data in standard ways which any other backend or visualization layer like SigNoz, which understands OpenTelemetry, can support. Hence, you're not locked into any particular vendor and have the flexibility and future-proofness to choose any other backend going forward. Observability also has broad-based support for different signals like metrics, traces, and logs. This helps you provide a single set of standards through which you can start sending your telemetry data today and then visualize it based on the backend or the visualization layer you use. The OpenTelemetry also has made it very easy to auto-instrument your applications by providing auto-instrumentation libraries. And in most cases for popular frameworks, getting started with sending telemetry data from OpenTelemetry is very easy. Hence, if any company is today evaluating in their journey on how to get started with observability, we strongly recommend to check out OpenTelemetry project, and SigNoz being one of the projects which supports OpenTelemetry natively, sort of becomes the default choice. Thanks.